Ryland stood stiff in the middle of the glowing alien hall, surrounded by beings more than twice his size. He tried not to look nervous, but sweat gathered at the back of his neck. This was not what he had trained for. He was supposed to deliver a simple message of peace on behalf of Earth's Council. Instead, he was now face to face with a race of giant aliens called the Drellian, known for their strength, pride, and ancient customs. The hall echoed with low, growling voices. The air smelled of burning spice and wet stone. Drellian guards lined the walls, gripping sharp polearms made of crystal and bone. Each one watched him closely, as if ready to strike at the first wrong move. But none of them made Ryland more uneasy than the one seated at the center, Princess Maelra. She was massive, even for a Drellian. She sat tall and still on a stone, throne shaped like a claw. Her skin shimmered like silver under torchlight. Her white armor was carved with symbols of power. Her long, dark braids rested over her shoulders like ropes. Her eyes glowed golden, and they were locked on Ryland. He swallowed hard. The human envoy beside him nudged his arm. "Say something respectful," the envoy whispered. "And whatever you do, don't insult her height." Ryland stepped forward, raising his voice just enough to be heard. "Princess Maelra," he said slowly, "you carry yourself with grace and strength, like true royalty. It's admirable." Silence. Total. Complete silence. Even the translator drones hovering. Overhead paused, blinking uncertainly. Then Maelra stood. Her footsteps made the stone floor tremble. She stepped down from her throne, her glowing eyes never leaving him. Ryland tried not to back away, but her size was overwhelming, like standing in front of a living mountain dot. She stopped in front of him. The air grew heavier. Ryland could barely breathe. Maelra bent slightly, lowering her face to his level. Her voice was smooth and deep, but there was something dangerous in it. "You see me?" she asked in perfect English. Ryland blinked. Yes, of course. I meant what I said. It was a compliment." She tilted her head. "Among my people, such words carry weight. You offered more than a compliment. You offered yourself." Ryland blinked again. "What? No, I didn't mean it like that." She raised a hand to silence him. "Your intent is no longer yours alone." Behind her, the guards dropped to one knee. The court scribes started murmuring something in the Drellian tongue. A large banner was pulled from the ceiling and dropped behind the throne. Two symbols side by side, her clan sigil and Earth's flag. "What is happening?" Ryland asked, panic creeping into his voice. The envoy beside him looked pale. I think you just proposed to her." Rayland's mouth fell open. Maelra turned toward the assembly and spoke in her language. A translation came seconds later. "The human has chosen me. By the sacred words, the bond begins. Earth shall send no other. He is mine." Ryland stumbled backward. No. This is a mistake." But her gaze didn't soften. "You said—" "I was like royalty," she said. "Do not speak words you do not mean. Not here." "I was trying to be polite," Ryland said quickly. "It was diplomacy. Just words." She stepped closer again. "Your words touched me more deeply than you. Understand? No Drellian male has ever spoken to me like that. Not without fear. You saw me. And now I have accepted." Ryland looked at the guards, at the banner, at the shocked human envoy. This was spiraling out of control. He turned and whispered, "We need to leave. We need to leave now." But the envoy shook his head. "If you run now, it'll be taken as a rejection. That's considered a public dishonor. They'll declare war." "War? From a compliment?" Maelra was still watching him, quiet and calm, but beneath that calm, something wild burned in her eyes. Not anger. Something else. Possession. Ryland single quotes S. Legs felt weak. He hadn't insulted her. He hadn't threatened her. He had just tried to show respect. And somehow, now he belonged to her. The court bells rang. A voice announced, "The bonding shall be prepared. The ritual begins at dusk." Raylan's heart pounded. One compliment. That was all it took. And now, he was about to become the mate of a giantess, who didn't take no for an answer. Ryland sat alone in a giant room carved from dark blue stone. The walls curved upward like the inside of a hollow mountain. High above, glowing lights floated silently like tiny moons. Everything around him was massive chairs the size of cars, cups bigger than his head, and doors so heavy they needed 2 Drellian guards to move. He was still trying to understand what had just happened. One compliment, that's all it had been, a polite sentence. But now, this alien princess claimed he had proposed. And the worst part? Everyone in the Drellian Empire believed it. He touched his forehead, breathing slowly. This must be a nightmare. The giant door creaked. Open. A new figure entered, tall, wide, armored in shimmering scales. It was a Drellian elder, with long tusks and deep eyes full of wisdom. His voice was slow and heavy, like stone sliding across stone. "You are Ryland of Earth?" Ryland stood up. "Yes, I need to speak with the council. There's been a mistake." The elder gave a slow nod. "We agree. The mistake was your lack of knowledge." Ryland blinked. "What?" "In our culture," the elder explained, "words like yours are sacred. They are not given lightly. When you praised Princess Valra's strength and grace, you used the language of ancient bonding. Such words from a male are a sign of lifelong acceptance." "But I didn't know that," Ryland said. "It wasn't meant that way. You have to tell them." "I cannot," the elder replied calmly, "because now it is that way." He stepped closer, towering over Ryland like a cliff about to fall. "You must understand. Our people are watching. The princess is of royal blood. If she is rejected in public, it will shame her house. And when her house is shamed, her warriors rise for vengeance." Ryland's blood ran cold. "You're saying, if I back out, there will be war?" "Not just war," the elder said. "Extinction. Your people do not understand how fragile peace is. You've touched the heart of one who was never supposed to be touched. Now you must either finish what you started or pay the price in blood." Ryland stumbled back and sat down again. "I didn't come here to get married. I came to keep peace." "Then keep it," the elder said. Hours later, Ryland stood in front of a mirror as a group of smaller alien attendants tried to wrap him in a ceremonial robe. It shimmered with light threads, glowing with alien symbols. He had no idea what any of it meant, but it felt like armor. For a wedding he didn't want. The human envoy returned, looking nervous. "Command is aware," the envoy said quietly. "They say, if it avoids war, we support the bond." "Support the bond?" Ryland repeated. "They're throwing me to the lions." "Better you than 10 billion Earth citizens," the envoy replied coldly. "You're a hero now. Earth's first interspecies alliance sealed by marriage." Ryland stared at him in disbelief. "I didn't sign up for this." "Doesn't matter anymore. Your name is all over the galactic feeds. News channels are calling you the brave mate. Children on Earth are making drawings of you and Valra holding hands. They think it's romantic." Raylan almost laughed. "Romantic? I'm being forced into this." But deep down, he wasn't sure what he felt. Confused? Yes. Afraid? Definitely. But also something else. He remembered the way Valra had looked at him, not just with power, but with something deeper. Sadness. Longing. It didn't feel fake. That evening, trumpets made of bone and fire-blown glass echoed through the castle halls. Rylan was escorted by guards into a grand chamber filled with thousands of Drellian nobles. The floor glowed with patterns of light. The air was thick with burning perfume. At the center of it all stood Vaelra, dressed in a cloak made of woven crystal. She looked powerful, calm, beautiful in a terrifying way. When she saw him, something changed in her eyes. She walked forward, slowly, every step making the ground vibrate. "I see you came willingly," she said. "I came to do what must be done," Rylan replied, trying to sound steady. "That is all I ask." They stood silently for a moment, staring at each other. Then a golden light pulsed above them. The elder's voice echoed, "Tonight the bond shall begin. The trial awaits. If he completes it, they are one." Raylan turned sharply. "Trial? What trial?" Vaelra looked down at him. "All mates of the Drellian must prove their will. You must survive the trial of fire and will. It is our law." "But I'm human," he said. "I'm not built for this." Her gaze softened. "Then fight like a human." The crowd roared. And Rylan realized, with a sinking heart, this wasn't the wedding. This was just the beginning. Asterisk. The ground shook beneath Rylan's feet as the stone gates opened before him. Thick smoke curled from the edges of the arena. Strange blue fire burned in massive braziers above the walls. The scent of ash and ancient metal filled the air. This was not a wedding. This was a test. He stood at the entrance to the Drellian trial chamber, a giant circle of broken earth surrounded by thousands of giant aliens. They cheered and roared from their seats, carved into black cliffs, stomping in rhythm. Above them, high on a balcony, sat Princess Vaelra, her golden eyes locked on Rylan. He felt small, helpless, weak. But he couldn't turn back. At the far side of the arena, 3 monstrous doors stood closed. Something big moved behind them, something breathing heavily. A booming voice echoed, "To be claimed by a Drellian, the chosen must prove strength. He must stand or fall." The crowd grew. Silent, Rylan stepped forward, wearing nothing but a ceremonial robe and light armor over his chest. In his hand, a simple staff, lightweight, more for balance than battle. He wasn't a fighter. He was a diplomat. A teacher of words, not war. Yet here he was, expected to survive a trial designed for alien warriors nearly 3 times his size. He glanced up at Vaelra. She didn't look smug. She didn't smile. She looked worried. The first gate creaked open. From the smoke stepped a beast. 4 legs, covered in bone plates. Its red eyes glowed with fury. The announcer shouted, "The Korek beast test of fear." Rylan's breath caught. The beast charged. He ran, not away, but around. Fast and light on his feet, he avoided the first charge. Dust exploded where the creature missed him. He didn't try to fight. It would be suicide. Instead, he used speed, ducking, slipping between broken stones, forcing the creature to wear itself down. Minutes passed. The crowd grew louder. Some cheered. Some jeered. Then Rylan saw it. A crack in the arena floor, a narrow trench. He lured the beast one final time. And at the last second, he dove aside. The creature's front leg fell into the trench. It tripped, crashing with a loud, painful groan. The arena exploded with sound. Rylan collapsed to his knees, gasping. He had survived, barely, but it wasn't over. The second gate opened. This time, a creature made of smoke and shadow slithered out. Its body shifted and moved like liquid oil. "The Veil Serpent," the announcer shouted. "Test of mind." The creature didn't attack. Instead, its eyes locked onto Rylan. Suddenly, the arena vanished. He was in a small room. A human room. His childhood home. His mother stood by the window. His father read a book, They looked alive. Real. Stay, his mother said gently. Forget all of it. Rest. He wanted to. God, he wanted to. But something felt wrong. He looked at his father. His eyes were too bright. Too still. Rylan gritted his teeth. You're not real, he whispered. The room cracked. Shattered like glass. The illusion broke, and the serpent screamed, coiling and dissolving into mist. Raylan fell back, trembling. His body ached. His mind spun. But he had won again. Then came the final door. A tall figure stepped out, twice as wide as Rylan, covered in silver armor. A Drellian male, but not an enemy. A judge. He carried no weapon. Test of will, he said. You may walk away now. Deny the bond. Leave this place as a free man. The crowd hushed. Rylan's heart pounded. He looked at the open path leading back to the gates. Freedom. Then he looked up at Vael. She stood. Her lips moved in silence. It's your choice. He saw something real in her face. Not force. Not pressure. Just hope. He stepped forward. No, he said. I will stay. The judge bowed his head. The trial is complete. Thunderous. Cheers echoed across the arena. Colored lights shot into the sky. Drums roared like thunder. From the top of the cliffs, Vaelra descended, her cloak flowing behind her. She walked toward him, not as a conqueror, but as a partner. She kneeled down to match his height. You fought not with strength, she said softly, but with truth. You are now bound, not by force, but by choice. Rylan nodded. I'm still not sure what I've become. Vaelra smiled. You've become mine. Asterisk. The crowd was gone. The cheers, the smoke, the fire all gone. Now, Rylan stood in a quiet balcony chamber, lit by soft blue crystals. The night sky above showed 3 moons floating over the Drellian capital, and beyond them, a thin ring of stars. It was calm, but not peaceful. He was still shaking. His body hurt from the trial. His mind kept replaying the illusions, the beasts, the choice. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Korok charging, the Veil Serpent whispering in his mind. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had barely survived something no human should have faced. Behind him, the floor thudded softly. Vaelra entered the room. She had changed out of her armor, wearing a long silken robe the color of dusk. Her face, normally unreadable, now showed something rare on her kind concern. I had them bring you healing fruit, she said gently. You need rest. I need answers, Rylan replied, sitting on the edge of the stone bench. Vaelra walked closer. Them ask. He looked up at her. Why me? Why not wait for one of your own? I said a few kind words, and suddenly I'm in chains of culture and law. Her golden eyes softened. I did not plan this, Rylan. My people are ancient, yes. But I am not like them. I have waited centuries. No male of my kind ever spoke to me without fear. Until you. It was just a compliment. No, she said, kneeling so her face was level with his. You looked at me like I was more than a body, more than a warrior. You saw me, and that moment something inside me moved. Rylan tried to speak, but nothing came out. No one chooses me, she added, her voice almost a whisper. They obey me, or they flee from me. I am not wanted. Silence fell between them. The air felt heavier, but not like before. This time it felt real. I didn't mean to change your life, Rylan finally said. I just didn't want. A war. She gave a small smile. And now we are bound by peace. Strange, isn't it? A sharp knock interrupted them. One of Vaelra's royal guards entered quickly. His face was pale, his movements rushed. My princess. There's been an attack. Vaelra stood up, her calm vanishing. Where? Near the lower chambers. 2 of our advisors are dead, marked by the Iron Path. Rylan looked between them. Who are the Iron Path? Valera's expression darkened. Extremists. They believe our blood must remain pure, that no alien, especially no human, should ever sit beside a Drellian royal. Then they're coming for me. No, she said, they're coming for us. Later that night, Ryland stood in Valera's private command chamber. Holograms floated in the air, showing maps of the city, troop routes, and strange Drellian runes glowing red. Valera stood like a general at war. They've attacked twice before, she said, but this is different. They moved during the trial when our guards were distracted. That means someone high-ranking helped them. You think it was one of your own? Rylan asked. I think it was someone who hates what we represent. Rylan watched the flickering map. This was supposed to be a simple mission, a peace negotiation. Now I'm in a room with a princess, wearing ceremonial armor and hunted by alien purists. Valera turned to him. You can leave. I will not. Stop you. If you wish, I will declare the bond void and face the shame myself. Rylan looked at her, really looked, and for the first time. She didn't look like a giantess or a warrior. She looked tired of being feared. Tired of being alone. He stepped closer. No, I'm not running. I may not understand everything, but you didn't trap me. You gave me a choice. Her golden eyes blinked in surprise. And I chose you. Outside the tower, deep in the lower chambers, 3 shadowed figures whispered in the dark. The bond must break. It won't break. By words. We'll tear it apart with blood. Tomorrow, one hissed, we strike where it will hurt the most. We take him. Meanwhile, high in the tower, Valera and Rylan stood side by side, different in size, in origin, in belief, but somehow drawn together, and neither of them knew. The real test was yet to come, not the trial of beasts or illusions, but the trial of trust. The alarm rang like a dying scream across the city. Deep, pulsing drums echoed through the spires of the Drellian capital. Red lights blinked along every tower. Guards moved quickly, weapons drawn, wings unfolding, orders flying like arrows. The royal chambers Rylan was gone. Only his robe lay on the floor, torn and burnt. Valera stared at the empty room in silence, her fists clenched so tightly the stone under her cracked. Her golden eyes didn't blink. Her jaw didn't move. But her voice, when it finally came, was colder than ice. They took him. Far below the palace, in the tunnels that hadn't been used for 100 years, Rylan was dragged by 2 Iron Path warriors. His arms were tied, his legs bruised. One of the guards had blood on his jaw. It wasn't his. They weren't just rebels. They were fanatics. You polluted her, one of them snarled. You wore our symbols, walked our ground, took her hand, like you deserved it. I didn't take anything, Rylan spat, struggling against the bindings. She made a choice. You lie, the second said. Our princess is a warrior, not a lover. She would never lower herself for prey. They threw him onto a stone floor, deep in a black chamber. A tall figure in shadow stepped forward. He wore a red mask carved from a dragon's skull. His voice was calm, deadly. You passed the trials. You gained her trust. But now, human, you will be tested by fire. Back in the command chamber, Valera slammed her hands onto the table. They breached the inner gates. That means someone in my council helped them. General Corv, her old mentor, nodded grimly. Only 3 people knew his exact room location. Valera didn't speak. She already knew. I want every path sealed, every flyer in the air. If we do not find him before the fire trial begins, he dies. Corv's eyes narrowed. You believe they'll risk burning him publicly? They won't burn him, she said quietly. They'll use him to send a message. To shame me. They'll say I chose weakness. And they'll make him scream while they do it. In the ritual chamber, Rylan was tied to a tall stone pillar. Fire pits surrounded him. The masked leader stood before a crowd of Iron Path followers, their faces painted with ash and blood. This is the human, the leader growled, the outsider who claims our royal blood. Tonight he will break. Rylan coughed, his body trembling. Do your worst, he muttered. You mistake this for pain, the leader replied. This is cleansing. He raised a torch and stepped closer. But then the ceiling exploded. A massive chunk of stone crashed down. Blue flame roared through the tunnel as a figure dropped from above cloaked in glowing armor and fury. V-A-E-L, Ray. Her. Landing shook the ground. Her wings spread wide, burning with light. Her voice thundered across the chamber. He is mine. The crowd hesitated. Then the masked leader roared, Stop her. They charged, but Vaelra was faster. She moved like a storm, fists crushing skulls, her war blades slicing through armor like paper. Her eyes never left Rylan. Rylan watched, stunned, as she fought for him, not as a queen, but as a mate. Blood splashed the firelight. Bones cracked. Screams filled the chamber. Then silence. Only the masked leader remained. He tried to run, but Vaelra threw her blade. It struck through his chest, pinning him to the wall. She walked toward him and pulled off his mask. Beneath it was one of her own council members, a noble who had once praised her rise to power. Betrayal ran deep. Vaelra said nothing, just stared. Then she turned to Rylan. She cut his bindings herself. Rylan fell forward, but she caught him. You came, he whispered, too weak to stand. I would cross stars for you, she answered. He looked up at her bruised face, blood on her lip, dirt on her robe. You're hurt, she smiled faintly. So are you. They leaned into each other, surrounded by firelight and broken stone. Not a prince and a princess, not a hero and a queen, but two souls that chose. Despite everything. Outside, the Drellian sky thundered with news. The Iron Path had fallen. Bond had survived, and now the final step remained. Not of war, not of blood, but of truth. The sky above the Drellian capital turned gold. Not because of the sun, but because of what was coming. Across the galaxy, thousands of species watched their holoscreens, waiting. The news had spread like wildfire. The human had survived the fire trial, and the bond ceremony was going forward. Some cheered, others whispered in fear. A few leaders prepared for war, unable to accept what this new alliance meant. But on the highest peak of Vaelra's stronghold, there was only silence. Rylan stood on a platform of glowing stone, dressed in ceremonial robes, made for his size, specially woven from royal Drellian silk. His cuts were still healing. His body ached, but his eyes held a calm the galaxy didn't expect from a human. Today was the final step, not a test, not a fight, not survival. Today was acceptance. Vaelra appeared at the edge of the platform. Her armor was gone. Instead, she wore a long cloak of starlight silk, flowing behind her like mist. Her silver skin caught the glow of the rising moons. She walked toward him slowly. No drums, no roaring crowds. Just the wind. When she reached him, she didn't speak right away. She simply looked at him, quiet, steady, vulnerable. I expected a storm, she said at last. You are the storm, Rylan replied with a soft smile. She let out a quiet laugh, rare, musical. They stood close, the height difference still huge, but the space between them? Gone. An elder stepped forward and raised the bondstone between them. It glowed with a pulsing blue light. Speak, the elder said. Let the galaxy hear your truth. Valera turned to Rylan. Her voice was clear but soft. You saw me before. The titles, before the armor. When others bowed in fear, you stood, not with weapons, with words. You gave me something no warrior ever could. A choice. And now I give you mine. I choose you. Not because of what our people demand, but because you are the only one who made me feel ... seeing. The bondstone pulsed once. Rylan took a breath. He looked up into her eyes, and then into the stars. I never meant to start this, but I couldn't lie when I saw you that day. You looked like something ancient and proud, and I meant it when I said you carried yourself with grace. You changed my life, not by force, but by being real when everything around me felt false. I don't know if I'm worthy, but I choose. You too, not because I have to, but because now I can't imagine a future without you in it. The bondstone exploded in color. Blue light spiraled into the sky. A golden ring expanded through the clouds. Every Drellian in the city dropped. To one knee, the bond was complete. Later, in the royal chamber, Raylan stood by the balcony, watching the stars. Valera joined him quietly. They'll challenge us, she said. Other empires, old allies, even parts of my own people. I know, he said. They'll say I chose a weak mate. He looked up at her with a grin. Then we show them what weakness can do. She bent down beside him. And if it ever becomes too much, he reached out and took her giant hand in his own. Then we face it together. That night, two figures stood at the heart of an empire. One, a giantess born of war. The other, a human who gave her peace. And together, they changed the stars forever. Asterisk.